All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Thursday afternoon. I hope everyone is doing well. Uh, I wanted to do a video. I hope it's going to be a quick video, but you know me. I've seen a lot of videos going around right now, D&D versus Pathfinder, or why one is better than the other. And I wanted to put my 2 cents on it. I have a couple of followers now, and I know a lot of people know that I'm a big fan of Pathfinder. But of course, like most grognards, I got my start with D&D. Very first edition of Dungeons and Dragons, and then I worked my way up to regular D&D, and then AD&D, and then D&D second edition, and then 3.5, 3.0. I didn't play much 3.0 because 3.5 came out not too far after, and we just converted our games all over to 3.5, which was a big hit. There were tons of splat books, and stuff. And then of course fourth edition came out, which didn't get received very well. I was a game master for a 4.0 game, and I really enjoyed it as a GM. Players I know didn't like it as much, but it was easy to do. There were certain things about fourth edition that were really good. So yeah, I get it. There was a lot of parts, you had to use miniatures and stuff. This is not a dissertation on fourth edition. I thought fourth edition was okay. I didn't think it was great, but as a GM, there was a lot of parts of it I liked. And then of course, fifth edition came out, and I really didn't like fifth edition from the get-go. I just felt it was very static. It was not. It wasn't very intuitive. The rules were kind of gray in certain areas, and they just didn't do a good job. So I moved to Pathfinder First Edition, and I didn't even really like Pathfinder First Edition, but I liked it better than D&D. Problem was, most of my players were D&D players, and so I ran D&D because that's what my players wanted, and I was very unhappy. And not that D&D is a bad game. It is a fine game. It is a great game. It's just not for me, and I say this a lot. It's like soda. There are people that prefer Coke and can't stand Pepsi. There are people that prefer Pepsi and can't stand Coke. Drink what you like, play what you like. If the game for your group works and everybody's enjoying it, that is literally all that matters. So on this stance of, is D&D better than Pathfinder or vice versa, my answer is no. The reason being, there are pros and cons to both games. Both games fit a certain niche that may work for you, that may not work for others. And that's the only way you're going to know that is to try both. If you've got a group that's playing 5th edition and you're like, I'd like to try Pathfinder, and everybody's like, no, 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 no. Well, then don't try Pathfinder. Find another group. There's just as many Pathfinder players as there is D&D players. Or talk to your group and say, hey, I know we're playing 5th edition, but I'm getting burnt out. Especially if you're the GM. And this is more guided at the GMs than it is players. I'm the GM. I'm running the game for you guys, and I'm getting burnt out. I want to try something new. So I've got the beginner box from Pathfinder, and it's got pre-made characters. We don't have to make characters. We can just jump right in and play. And I think if you take that stance with your players, and by the way, this goes for any game, please, for the love of God, have pre-gens ready. If you want to get your group to try a new game, have pre-gens. If you are a publisher that makes role-playing games, for the love of everything that is holy in the mighty, mighty dice, make pre-gens available on your website, your Discord, whatever, Facebook. Make pre-gens available. It goes so far to help your game. I can't tell you how many games I've tried to introduce to my players, and I was like, I didn't have time to make characters because I work crazy hours. So we're gonna make characters. Just knocks the fun right. Some people love making characters. Most people do not. They love making a character if it's a game they're gonna play. If you say, hey, we're our D&D group, we're gonna start a new campaign, we're gonna start at 5th level, we're gonna make characters together. Your players most likely will be like, yeah, and they'll be on it. You say, hey, we're going to try tiny D6, tiny dungeon. But there's no pre-generated characters, so we're going to sit down and make characters. All your players are going to be like, oh. Yeah, and rightly so. You want me to learn something new, but you're not giving me the tools to learn. And I'm just using Tiny D6 because that's been on my brain lately because I'm looking at other game systems and stuff. But anyway, my point being, make it as an easy entry into your game as you can make. Now, that being said, WotC Dungeons and Dragons has done the beginner box, and Pathfinder has their beginner box. Now, personally, I have both, and I do believe that the Pathfinder beginner box is much better. It is laid out way better. I mean, they both come with dice. They both come with pre-generated characters. They both come with an adventure. You know, they both come with everything to get you started. But I just believe that the Pathfinder box gives you more. And that's not always a good thing. So take that with a grain of salt. But I think it's an easier pill to swallow, whereas the beginner box from D&D doesn't give you a whole lot, you know. And so bang for your buck aside, you know, because some people, your discretionary income is just that, it's yours. So nobody can say to you that this is a better value than that. You're the only one that can say that. And that's kind of where I stand on the D&D versus Pathfinder. Only you as the GM and or player can say what's a better value for you. Now, for me, I'm not going to lie. I jumped on, I bought the, I don't know if you can see this, but this is the collector's edition. It's kind of metallic cover. And I got all 3 books with a sleeve and a GM screen. Because at the time I was running D&D when this came out, and I liked it. You can kind of see it's shiny there. And so for me, this was a worthwhile value. I mean, it was a little bit over $100. I think it was $130 for all 3 books. I bought it off of, I think, Miniature Market. And I'm glad I have it in my collection. In fact, I just sold all of my D&D books, and these are the only 3 books plus the GM screen I kept. Because, to be honest, I can run D&D with just these 3 books. I don't need anything else. And that goes for every GM. You don't have to buy anything extra. You can just buy the core set. If you're a player, this is all you need. This is 1 book at, I think, $60. I think that retails for, it might even be cheaper. I think the Player's Handbook is a little cheaper. I think it's like $29.99, and the other books are all like $49.99. I don't quote me on that. I haven't bought any of these books in quite a while, so I don't know the prices. But anyway, the point is, as a player, this is all you need. Now, as the GM, you don't necessarily need this book, but you do need the GM's Guide, the Game Master's Guide, and you need the Bestiary. You need the Monster Manual. So those are 2 books, and that's, you know, roughly $60-$70 for 2 books. Now, that being said, on the flip side, again, your mileage may vary, your value for your enjoyment, that's for you to say. But for me, this is 1 book. This is the digest size. I find this very handy. The font is easy to read with my bifocals, but it's very well laid. This is just a condensed version of the full-size book, and this sells for $30, $29.99. That's a bang. Now, I have the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide all in 1 book. There's no monsters in here, so I can't easily say that this is everything you need to play Pathfinder, because it's not. But if you buy if you buy the beginner's box for this, which is $30, I believe it's $30. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But for argument's sake, let's say it's $30. You're going to get everything you need to play the game. There's monsters, there's tokens that you can use well beyond the beginner box, and they will serve you well. So for Mr. Mean, this is a better value for my buck. Yeah, I got to go out and buy a monster manual, but you know what? They make all the monster manuals in this format. So you can go real cheap and not have to get the big hardback book, which they're all heavy, by the way. And you can, you know, this is pretty chunky too. It's not like, this is a 608-page book, I think. So yeah, and the hardback is, you know, obviously big in hardback. So for me, this is a better deal for my dollar. But is it better than D&D? Only you can say that. I'm getting tired, and this is just Mr. Mean being a grognard. I'm getting tired of seeing all these videos that, you know, D&D is better than Pathfinder. Don't play Pathfinder. Don't play D&D. Guys, do yourself. Don't watch those videos. They're not contributing anything to the hobby. There's enough hate and discontent in this world. We don't need to add more on YouTube or in the game store. If your group wants to play Pathfinder and you want to run D&D, but your players don't want to do it, find another group. It's not that hard. And well, I will admit it is hard. I live in Duluth. There's not a big demographic of gamers here. But you know what? I have Foundry. I have access to Roll20. I have Fantasy Ground. I have Questline. I have a number of VTTs that I can get a game going if I want to get a game going bad enough. And there's enough people online that want to play games that you can find a convenient group that will work that will play the game you want to play, especially as a GM. There is infinitely more players than there will ever be GMs. So there is no excuse to play a game that you don't want to play just because your local group, the guys that come over to your house or you go over there or you meet at the game store, don't want to play the game that you want to run. Because I'll tell you, what kills my fun is running a game that I have no interest in running. And I just, unfortunately, I don't have any interest in playing D&D, playing it or GMing it. It just doesn't. After I GM'd Pathfinder, I remember I did the beta test. And there were a couple things in the beta test that obviously didn't make it into the full version of the game. But I'm telling you, the beta, I was ready to get rid of all my D&D books then. That's just me. That is not you. If you love D&D or it is your cup of tea, then right on, bro. You do you. Nobody has the right to tell you game X is better than game Y. And I'm tired of just seeing all that. I've noticed a trend in the last month of, don't play D&D. Pathfinder's a better game. No, it's not a better game. It may be a better game for you and your gaming group, but it is not a better game. It is a game. WotC, Dungeons and Dragons, sells a shitload of books. They are a huge corporation. They are backed by Hasbro. They're full. Their only job is to spit out content to make you buy it. And as long as people keep buying it, they will keep making content. And here's the thing. When they come out with a new book, like this one D&D, there's a lot of uproar about it. And, people are like pissing and moaning. And it's been like 10 years since, or 5 years? I don't even remember. Since we've had a new edition of D&D. There's only so much stuff they can regurgitate, so many things that they can make new. So they have to increase the rule book. Their job is to sell you books. You don't have to buy them. It comes back to the vote with your dollar. Do what makes you happy. I've got friends that are still playing 4th edition because they like it. So, and they didn't buy 5th edition. And here's the thing, you don't have to. If what was it? Mutants and Masterminds. I remember when they went to 2nd edition, everybody complained, why'd you go to 2nd edition? 1st edition was fine. You're just trying to grab money. Yeah, because they're a business. That's how they make money. These people want to eat, and this is a profession that they've chose. Is it the right profession? That's for them to decide. It's not your place. Your place is to say, yes or no, I will not support this game system. That's all you have to do. You're not obligated to buy any game if you don't like it. I know a lot of people don't like Dungeon World or Powered by the Apocalypse because they are narrative games in which you as a player are pretty much forced to participate. You can't just chuck dice and say, oh, I hit, and then move on to the next guy. You kind of can play it that way, but you're missing the whole point of the game because the mechanics are built around being descriptive and being proactive in your narration of what your character is doing. So, that game may not be for you, and if it's not, then don't play it. Again, no one can make you play a game you don't want to play, and if you're a GM running a game that you don't enjoy, you're not going to run a good game. Your players are going to sense it, you're going to sense it, and everybody is going to know that you're not happy. The problem is players just want to play, and a lot of players won't say anything, especially if they're new to the group or it's a new group in and of itself. A lot of them will just shut up and play even though they're not necessarily having a good time because there's no other game. They live in a small town or they live in an area that doesn't have a lot of gamers, whatever it may be, or they're just introverted or they're shy and they don't want to take the time to meet new people. There's a million and one different reasons. You don't have to play games you don't like, especially if you're the GM. It's going to show. People are going to know man, John's a little off his game. He's very descriptive. He uses voices. He's excited. He's standing up when he's GMing. And here he's just kind of sitting in a chair, and it's just one combat after another, because that's the easiest part, and that's really all the players want. If that's how you're running your game, and again, I fall back to, if you're having fun and your players are having fun, then you're doing it right. But if your players aren't having fun and you can sense it, say something. Or if you're a player and you sense the GM is unhappy, and you don't have to say anything in front of the group, pull him aside, send him an email, or her an email, send him a text. Just have a discussion. Communication is king and avoids a lot of malcontent. Just, hey, John, I noticed, last night's game, you're kind of off. Is everything okay? Is there something we can do? You need help with something? Is everything okay? 9 out of 10 times, John is going to go, Bob, I'm just not really enjoying the game. It's just, I know you guys are enjoying it. And then at that point, John is running the game for the group. He's not running the game with him included. And you're not going to have a good experience. Nobody is. And maybe once or twice you will, but the rest of the game session or sessions down the road are going to be boring or incomplete or lackluster. And, as we get older, our time becomes precious. I get 1 night a week to game, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. And the second game is always virtually. It's always online. So I make the most out of my Warhammer. Right now I'm GMing Warhammer Fantasy 4th edition by Cubicle 7. I have 5 players in my group, and they are 5 amazing players. I enjoy each and every one of them. And I care what they think. And I ask them, and I usually ask them separately, hey, are you having a good time? Is everything cool? Do you feel your character is complete? Is he growing? Or she growing? Do you feel confident in what you're doing? And are you having fun? Yes, John, I am. I want to see this. And so I make a note of that, and I try to incorporate that into the game. That's my GMing style. I know not everybody's like, some GMs are very introverted, believe it or not, and they don't want to talk about stuff in the game. Find a way to communicate with your players, whether it's through text, email, Zoom, Teams if you're at work. 2 of my players work with me, so we chat sometimes. 3 of my players actually work for the same company I do, so we chat, via that way sometimes when it's slow and we have a moment like lunchtime or whatever. So I don't condone abusing company time for gaming. Please don't do that. But if everybody's committed and you have the free time at lunch or whatever, go for it. But there is no one game better than another game, because the moment you make that statement, you've already invalidated it, because then you open it up to criticism and arguments and bad feelings. Because you can say that, I can go into the local game store, there may only be 3 guys in the store, and I go, D&D is the greatest game ever made, all other games suck. And I guarantee you at least one of those people, if not more, is going to tell me, oh no, I think Powered by the Apocalypse is the greatest game ever made. Oh no, I think Pathfinder is the greatest game made. It's not going to be good. So find out what your players want to play. Work with them. Make the games engaging. And for what it's worth, just be sure to play a game that you want to play as the GM. You're the focal point. Without you, there is no them. They can't have a game without the GM. So if you don't want to run D&D and they all want to play D&D, I think as a GM, you're well within your rights to say, hey, guys, at the end of the session, maybe you've come to a story arc. That's a good spot to take a break and say, does somebody else, here's the scoop. I don't want to GM D&D anymore. I want to play, or I want to give game X a try, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be Pathfinder. I want to give game X a try. So what's everybody think? And if everyone's like, then you can say, well, then somebody else is going to have to step up and GM. And 2 things are going to happen. The group's going to fall apart, or someone's going to step up. Well, 3 things. Group's going to fall apart. You're all going to go your separate ways. That I've seen that happen. It's happened to me. That means you just don't have a very good group, and I understand. And it may mean that those people don't want to play that game, and this is the risk you run. It's the chance you take by making a statement like that. But the flip side is, someone else may very well step up, and then you can go, well, and this is a perfect example. My friend Dom wants to GM, and I wanted to go to a bi-weekly schedule. So he stepped up to GM Pathfinder, and I said, great, that allows me to GM Warhammer. I got my buddy Darren to play because Darren is a big fan of Warhammer. And so I get to GM a game that's near and dear to my heart that I really love, and I think it's just a great system. And Dom gets to learn to be a GM. Now, I bowed out of Dom's game, not because Dom is a bad GM, he's an inexperienced GM, and I have very little time to game and do the things that I want to do. I have a full-time career, I have an autistic child, and I'm 55 years old with a 5-year-old. I'm tired. I am beat when I come home from work. And I have a lot of things that I have to do every day with my kid, and it's great. I don't begrudge that, but something has to give. So, and my wife has a full-time job, and she's not getting young, so she we have a lovely family dynamics, and we spend a lot of time with our child, and that's our choice. So, I'm not going to spend time doing something I don't want to do. I don't enjoy being a player. It's not for me. I find myself that I will make it as a player for maybe 3 to 4 games, and then I'll bow out because I'm just not having fun. I'm not a player. I am a GM. I've been a GM since I learned how to. When D&D first came out, my mom bought me the little pamphlets, the small books, the chainmail books. They were in a Ziploc bag. They didn't even come with dice. They had chits, and my mom sat down with me, and we cut them out, and she read the books to me, and I read them, and then my mom was my first GM, so my mom was amazing. She has passed on, but she's rolling dice up in heaven. I know it. So my mom was my very first GM and said, "You want to play this game? You got to find friends, and you know." And so it's just I've always been the GM. It's fine. So there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's your role, if that's what you have fun with, I have fun being a GM. I have a great time being, especially in Warhammer. It's such a grim, dark, perilous adventure game. And I torture my poor players, and they love it. They keep coming back every 2 weeks. We play bi-weekly. But that's the game of choice for me. I wanted to run. I was enjoying Pathfinder. I didn't want to stop running it, but I wanted Darren to be a part of my gaming group because he's one of my best friends, and I enjoy his company a lot. But he didn't really have an interest in Pathfinder, and he didn't want to game every week. And we were gaming every Friday, and he didn't want to. And to be honest, it was very taxing on me and my wife. So I stepped down and said, okay, I'm going to run bi-weekly. I'm going to run Warhammer because it was a great time to stop and set that expectation. And then the players all decided that they wanted to keep playing Pathfinder. And so Dom stepped up and said he'll GM, which is great. I even gave him some stuff to help facilitate him GMing. And he's going on his own. And hopefully they're having a good time. I hope they are. And, we're going from there. So it is. Life is short. Don't play a game you don't want to play. Don't be afraid to step up. You can be polite. You can talk to your GM on the side and say, hey, look, this isn't the game for me. I'm going to, unless you're planning on changing games here real soon, I'm going to bow out. It's player etiquette. We all heard about it. We all read about it in all the new books where you got your X card. I don't think we need all that. That's just me. I'm a little bit older. If I have a problem, I'm going to say something. I'm not shy. But I get some people are, and they don't want confrontation or whatever. It doesn't bother me. So I guess in closing, I just wanted to say that there's a lot of games out there, guys. Don't be forced, or don't let anyone tell you game X is better than game Y, or you should be playing game A because everybody else is doing it. That is, and I saw one video that said why you should play D&D, and he literally started the video with, well, because everybody else is playing it. So if everybody goes and jumps off a bridge, you should jump off a bridge too. No, think for yourself. Make an informed opinion. If you're new to role-playing games, try a couple different games. Don't just pick one game and then never look at any other games. Look, I mean, I have a literal wall of games, and there is tons of games on there. And I haven't even got to play them all, but I am working on it. I am working on it. And with that, I will lead into do what you like to do. Talk with your friends, be open, communicate, and most of all, most importantly, this is a great hobby to explore and have fun with your friends. You'll make new friends. Some of my best friends I met through gaming, and we are like 20, 30 years later, we're still friends. And we all still game. So definitely, make it worth your while. Do what makes you happy. And just communicate. That's the biggest. That's the biggest thing about role-playing games is communication. If you're not having fun, tell your GM. And if they don't want to accommodate you, or they feel that it's unreasonable, then the power is yours. Go find a new GM. Play online, Foundry, Roll20, Questline, whatever VTT you can use. D&D Beyond, with Roll20, whatever. Do what you got to do to make you happy, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. I guess that's a big thing. So with that, I'm going to segue into the cleanup of the housekeeping, as I like to call it. I'm on Patreon, $5 a month. Patreon is $5 a month. That gets you exclusive access to special features on the Discord. I run games on the Discord. Every so many months, whatever, there's no schedule, but every couple of months I pack up some goodies that vendors and or publishers have sent me, and I randomly generate one of the Patreons to receive it. And so you'll get an email from me or a Discord message, and I'll say, hey, you won this month's drawing. Where can I ship your stuff? And that's no cost to you. I pay the shipping, and you'll get something hopefully you don't have in your collection. And if you do have it, put it on eBay and sell it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But the point is just to, as a thank you for helping to support the channel. It's $5 a month. Hopefully it's not, if you can't afford that, then please don't support the channel. I'd rather you take care of you. But it also gets you a designator on Discord to let everybody know that you are a Patreon member. And you get first dibs in any games I run online. And like I said, freebies every so often in the mail. I just sent out a whole bunch of stickers at the beginning of the summer. I sent out a bunch, everybody got a couple of stickers in the mail, all my Patreons. So just a way for me to say thank you. And then there's the Discord channel, which there'll be a link down in the doobly-doo here below to join the Discord. It's a very active community. We talk about a bunch of different games, D&D being one of them. Right now there's a lot of chatter going on about Spelljammer and Dark Sun, so feel free to jump in there and chat away. We only ask that don't be a jerk, and so far all the members, the community is awesome. So if you want to come talk about tabletop games, or you're a miniatures fan, or computer games, we have sub channels in there, so you can talk about those things as well. Let's see what else we got. That's all I can think of right now. YouTube, obviously, like and subscribe, tell your friends. Let's grow the Meanie Army, as we call ourselves the Horde, the Meanie Horde, or the Meanie Army. Yeah, come be a part of the family, man. We have a super awesome crew. We have a lot of game designers on there. If you're a budding game designer, it's a great place. If you want an interview, or you want me to look at your stuff and critique it, or just look at it, feel free to contact me at mrmeanspeaks with an S at gmail.com. Other than that, I think the only thing to do is to sign off and say peace and hair grease. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me. I hope this brings some information to some people, makes other people feel good about it, or whatever. Or if you're on the fence and you're not sure what to do, hopefully this gave you some options. If you have your ideas and comments or whatever, put them down in the comments below. I respond almost to just about every comment, unless I get a couple asinine comments that I don't respond to because I don't have to. But for the most part, if you have a legitimate question or whatever, and you're not some people aren't big Discord fans or whatever, you can communicate through YouTube, or you can email me at mrmeanspeaks@gmail.com. So as always, peace and hair grease, and remember, Mr. Mean says, be nice.